You are able to see my screen?
Yes, very good.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so last session we discussed about the control statement, which is break. Like we completed till the break and continue and pass. So we'll start from the function. So how do you create a functions in Python? Okay, so so there are like functions. There are broadly you can categorize into built-in function and user-defined functions. Right. So built-in functions generally what you it's available out of your Python programming language, right? So like you can think of as functions like length and mathematical functions like min, max, sum. So these are the some of the functions which is available uh, in a Python programming language by default. So if you want to call those functions, you can just, you don't need to import any package. Okay, those are available directly. So you can just uh, say example, I just create a number list. Okay, so the list which consists of numbers, a few numbers, right? And if you want to find the uh, size of the list, then you can use the length function. Probably you know already. So and then there is another mathematical function called min, which will give me the minimum number, minimum element in the list, and max is will give the max element from the list. And if you want to sum up all the elements in the list, so we can use a sum. Yeah, so these are some of the the built-in functions available in. So if you want to create your own function, which is generally called as user-defined functions. So functions in Python, if you want to create a functions in Python, you need to use a keyword called a def. Okay, and then you have to provide the function name. In this case here, display, and open close bracket. If you have an argument, you can provide the arguments. So even you can have a function without argument. And then you have to say colon, and in the next line you have to do the indentation. I don't know whether we covered. Yeah, probably we covered. So basically, you see every like if statement, all your else if, right? For loop, everywhere Python is basically for looping and other if statement. You have to use the indentation, right? So you have to give tab space here or space. So so that is must. Indentation is a very must in Python. So similarly, when you define a function, the indentation is must. And so in this function, so I just having just a keyword using a keyword def, and I'm just giving a Python sorry, the function name display, and without argument I just declare. So what I just kept is just print hello Python. So it's not having any other logic need to be executed. So I just create a like print function. So if you want to call that function, you can just call the function name with open and close bracket. So it will go and call that function. So basically it just has only print statement, so it is going to print it. And if you want to have a parameterized or function with the argument, okay, then you need to use a keyword called display. I'm no sorry. You need to in the after opening the bracket, you need to give some argument name. So in this case, I'm just giving as message. Okay, so this one, right? So if you see in Python, you don't need to declare data type like which we discussed earlier. So even for arguments also, you don't need to provide a the data type for it. So you just whenever you pass a particular value, it will go to infer it. So in this, it's just the same almost display a message where you pass a message, and I'm just printing it. Okay, so this is one type of function. In general, function will do some logic, right? So let's define a function, very simple arithmetic addition function. So it takes two arguments. So def keyword followed by the function name. I'm passing a two argument a comma b. Okay, assume that this is going to take it to integer numbers. So what you can do is you can just add those integer numbers and return. So function generally will have a return. So if you are writing a function which does some specific operation and gives the result or output, then you will have a return keyword. Basically, that output you'll be returning it. So that is one type of function. Some function may do some computation, but may not return some value. So that can also be uh, achieved in the Python. Okay. So in this add numbers function, you just calling the function and just trying to pass two numbers. It's going to add and give it back. So let me run this. It's almost straightforward. So okay, so this is all about functions. I'm sorry. So okay, till now we saw those variables or calling a function with all hard-coded value, right? So basically, so if you want to get a user input, right? How do you get it? Okay, so if you just writing a program and if you want to get a user input and perform based on the user input and perform some computation or some logic, then how do you get the user input? So there is a function called input, okay, that will help you to capture the user input typed in the keyboard. There is the std in the standard output console. Okay, so example, you just have to, either you can give a message, or even if you don't give message also, it's going to prompt a blinking just that it will blink like just specify the input. I'll just try to do that in console before doing it here. I'll just say Python. I'll say name. Okay, so I'll just say input. So it's just blinking. It means you need to provide a input for it. Say example, I just provide Shiva. So if you see the name, it's going to contain the what are the user which is provided. So that's how you can get the user input. So basically, this empty, it's not a means it is blinking. You need to provide the input, but you can actually provide like some message saying that enter value or enter your name. So which will just be very meaningful, like if user at least know like you have to enter the number, you have to enter the name. Okay, so I'll just say Arun. Okay, so name will have Arun. Okay, so this is how you can capture the user input using the input function. So I can do same thing here, enter your amount. So I'll just say 10 and no, it has to be actually I have to do enter. I just again I ran it twice. Let me stop this. Let's restart it. I'll just say 10 and do enter. Okay, so then if you look at the whatever the user has entered the value, basically it is an integer value, right? But you see the type. If you try to find the type of the user input, it says string. So basically, all the value which is coming out of std in, right? Basically, that will come as a string. So you need to typecast based on what value you are going to uh, take it. Okay, so if you are going to capture kind of say name from the user, then it will be string. If you are going to capture kind of age or the um, the product amount or product price, then you need to typecast based on the type. Okay, so what if it is a kind of age, then you cast it as integer. Then if it kind of item or product price, then you need to cast it to double or float. Okay, so that's how you need to do it. Okay, all right. So this is how you can get the user input. Uh, Next, we will focus on uh, how do you handle the files. Okay, so in general, right? In general, you may work on the files, right? So basically, uh, there are different types of files uh, which can be processed using Python, right? So I'm just giving the example for text file, CSV file, and JSON file. So you can go and explore other file types like Parquet files, but though Parquet files are the Avro files. So some of the files, so actually Python out of box, there are some files which can having a function to read it out of box, and some of the files you have to use a respective package. So the normal file reader and file writer functions may not be used for all the file types. Okay, so you need to use the respective package because uh, that's all those for those functions there is no inbuilt functions available. So example, this is the text files. This is a text file. For text file, you have a um, input and out. Sorry, reader and a writer method. But for I think CSV, we have a CSV package, and for JSON, we have a JSON package. So similarly for Parquet, you may use Parquet package and Avro, some kind of things like that. Okay. Okay, let's focus on the start with the text file. Okay. Say example, if I have a text file, okay, which contains some free text. Okay. So how do you read those free text? Just a minute. Just a minute. So basically, there is a function called open, and you pass the path of the file, okay, text file, and the mode you give it as a read mode. Okay, so you're going to read the file, okay, and then so this has to be uh, with keyword and open using open function. You are reading the file with the read mode, okay, and then so this will uh, just have it as it will create a reader object. Okay. So for your file, it will create a reader object. Then reader object will help you to iterate over. It will actually help you to read the lines from your file. Okay, so a reader function will have the reader function is having the read lines function, which is going to give the entire lines from your file. So if you want to iterate each line by line, then you can use a for loop. Okay, so that's what I'm doing it here. So if I example, if I just say, just read lines here. I just try to comment out this. So it gives me entire. Basically, it gives the all the lines in a list, right? So basically, this is one line, and this is second line, and third line kind of things. If you want to print line by line, then you need to use the for loop. So this is how you need to you can read a text file using the open function. Okay. If you want to write, so you need to get a writer object. So how do you get a writer object? So again, use this open function and provide the file path which you want to write, and you open it with a write mode. Okay. So earlier, when we want to read a file, we just open using a read object. It's a read mode here, write mode, and then this will give you the writer object. So a writer object dot write, and you pass your this whatever the value. Sorry, whatever the value you want to write it. I'm just adding programming language. Sorry, programming Python, and then programming Scala. Okay. So if I let me go to this location. I'll just remove whatever there earlier. So this is the text file we read. Okay, so this content. So these three we read it. Now let's write this content into, okay, and then finally close the writer object. Let me run this. So you see the text file which got created having a 2 lines. Okay, that's what we written here. Now let's focus on the next file. Is there any uh, question you have?
Pari, I have a question.
Yeah.
What if I want to append the text?
So okay, so basically, I think you need to use W plus. Okay, that is append mode. Python. I think W plus. Anyway, I'll just confirm you. Right now. Okay, so I think you have to use the A.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
And R plus is reading and writing. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Yeah. Okay. So let me
Sorry, where that double backslash is there,
uh-huh.
the file name?
Yeah. So basically, in Windows path, right? So generally, if you give a single path, it will not. Sometimes it is not taken. Here it is taken, but sometimes it is. It will say. It will actually. I think probably in a PyCharm, it will just prompt um, saying kind of syntax error. So
For escaping, we are giving or
yeah, so it's kind of escaping, correct? It's kind of escape character only, correct? Your question is why is the double slash, right?
right, yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically kind of. So here it is taking, but in general, I think PyCharm it will just prompt some compilation error, I guess. That's the reason. Here it is fine. Okay, so okay. Okay, so now we will see the next file type where we'll just go on how to read a CSV file. For read CSV file, see you can actually CSV file is basically comma separated file, right? So even you can use a normal open file, and probably you can just do the delimitation and do. But there is a separate package, CSV package. So we can use this for the betterment. Okay, so again, you can use a with keyword with the open function and pass your file path, and then open in a, so reading a file, the reader mode, and it's going to give you the file object. Okay, so from the file object you use the reader. Okay, so CSV package dot reader of, you pass the file object, and it is going to give the reader object. Okay, so then you iterate. Uh, so this reader object is kind of, it's going to have the all the lines from the CSV file. Then you iterate over your okay, so iterate over your lines. Okay, so example, let me open the there is a CSV file called people.csv. Okay, let me open this file. So it has basically four lines. First line is basically header, and other three lines about the peoples in different cities. Okay, so it is going to, it is just, if you just comment out this, okay, run over this. They just iterated each line. So if you see now each the CSV file a package, you see the each line as a list. Okay, so here when you read as a file, it's just a string message, right? It is going to give a string. So even if you can use a open function with a reader with the open function also, you can just read the CSV file, but it is going to give you as just a string for the entire line. But in case of when you use a CSV package, it is going to give you as a list. So you can actually iterate your each element in your list. Okay, that's how we want to generally, when you want to process CSV file, you need something like this. So then you can just access your element using an index. So if you take this list, you can access 0th position, element in the 0th position and first position. Because we have three elements, let's do the other element also. Okay. So this is how you can access those lines. Okay, so we have 1 minute left. We'll just disconnect this and just use the same link on join back. We'll discuss CSV in the other session. Thank you.